Hey guys!
And gals!
Today we will have a look at interference, a fun and interesting polyrhythm generator that can do also other cool things, and I should mention that this module is commercial, links in the description of course. So here I have already 3 FM operators and they are tuned to different notes, and interference has its own built-in clock that we can use, and we have also a clock output if we want to sync it with other modules. So let's for now send it to the first FM operator. Of course we can change the rate, the tempo. Very nice. And now we have 4 rhythm generators A, B, C and D, each with its own trigger output. So let's use, for example, the first one to the second FM operator, and I will unmute the first one. Now we can change its ratio to the main clock. Let's make this a bit quicker. Oh yeah. And of course each of these controls has also a CV input, so you can sequence and modulate the ratios, and we can also activate and deactivate them. So now it's deactivated and I can activate them separately. We also have the R output, which will output a rhythm according to the settings of the activated rhythm generators. So let's send this to the third FM operator. And now I can start changing the ratios. You can hear the rhythm we get. Again, I can deactivate. And get by that different rhythms. We also have the secondary R output that will output a complementary rhythm to R. So let's use this instead of the clock output. Now one thing to keep in mind is that for the secondary R output to be different from the main R output, at least 3 generators have to be active. We also have the accent output that will output a trigger at the beginning of the cycle, so whenever the sequence repeats itself. So let's do this. Now, one more time. Now, very nice. Okay, so actually we have 8 different trigger outputs that we can use to create interesting rhythms and movement. So let's have a look at a few examples. Okay, so here I have the percussive vibration module from Lifeform Modular. Let's trigger it with the main R output. I have here something already set, so this will go to the trigger input. Let's also have a listen to how this will sound like. So this is the rhythm we get. Very nice. Now we can use the secondary R output to, let's say, trigger the accent, and then I can use the accent from the output to modulate the decay time. Oh yeah. Oh yes, oh yes. Let's add also Vakumba to the mix from Hora, this one here. Oh yeah. Let's take it just a bit down. Now we can use another trigger output from interference to control the gain of Vakumba with using another sequencer. So I will use the ADDR sequencer from Borg Audio. I will trigger it with the main clock output. So this will just output the clock, the tempo of interference. Let's randomize the ADDR and bring it back to have 8 steps. Very nice. Let's set it, or make sure it's set to 0 to positive 10 volts. This is the range I want to have for modulating the gain. So now I can use this. Oh yeah. Oh yes, let's add some reverb. yeah. Okay, I have here another voice, palette from Atelier. It's set to the 2-operator FM model. Let's trigger it with the secondary R output, this one here. Very nice. Let's have a listen to this. I have it set sent to the spreader here, just so it's nice and spread in the stereo field. Oh yes, I'm using here 3 voices. So one is left, one is right, one is in the center. Oh yeah. Okay, I have here the PGMR sequencer from Borg Audio with an expander, so I have 8 steps all in all. This one is perfect for sequencing modulation, so let's drive it. Again, we will use the clock output from interference. But let's also use the individual trigger outputs to trigger jumps between the steps. So let's use, for example, the first one to trigger this step, and the second one to trigger this one. Let's do something like this maybe, and then here the fourth. Very nice. Okay, so we have a weird sequence here, which is great. And now let's use this to sequence the decay time of the low pass gate. And the low pass gate is here. Oh yeah. Maybe also sequence its color. Very nice. And of course also the FM amount. You know what, let's send this voice also through some delay with Chronoblob 2. I will sync it with our clock. Let's change the delay times a bit, maybe something like this. Take the wet a bit down, a bit less feedback. And now let's send the palette to it. Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay, another thing we can do to add some variation is to modulate the rhythm generators. So let's use a sample and hold. I will use the one from Borg Audio. This one here. We will trigger it with the accent output. So each time the cycle is over, the sample and hold will be triggered and will change the individual rhythm generators. Let's change its range to, let's say, negative positive 3 volts, so it's not going too much up and down. Okay, and let's use this to modulate, let's say, B and D. By the way, the gate input is normaled to the second section here, so I don't need to use the same input, the same signal. Let's have a listen. So now with each accent output, so every time we have a cycle, we have different rhythms. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Okay, I have here another voice, nothing special, Entropia, an interzone with some delay. Let's use the main clock to drive Entropia. And also to sync again the delay, and also to trigger with the trigger input to trigger interzone. Very nice. Let's send this to the mixer. Let's see how this sounds like. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, very nice. So we have different rhythms, we have movement, we have motion. Let's have a look at another example. Okay, so here I'm using interference to add this weird random burst of blips and bloops. I have sample and hold modulating the 4 rhythm generators. I'm also running it this time externally with clocked. And I'm also modulating or triggering the play function, so it will not constantly play. It will be turned off and on, so I get bursts rather than constant rhythms. Now the 4 trigger outputs are triggering the proc modules, and the sample and hold is also modulating the parameters of these modules. This is going through soundstage for extra weirdness. This is how it sounds like. Let's have a listen to this a bit. Oh yeah. Very nice. I also have the C and D outputs from Soundstage. By the way, there will be a link in the description to a video all about Soundstage if you are interested. So this is going also to Rampage for an extra gritty layer. Oh yeah. Very nice. I also have here some drums just to add this stable drums layer. I have the gate sequencer triggering knock, snare from SV Modular, and the hi-hat from Hora. So let's add those. Oh yeah. Very nice. Okay, we can also use interference as a sub-oscillator. So here I have the grid sequencer. I'm driving it both with the R and the secondary R outputs from interference. One is triggering it forward, one is triggering it downward. And I use the accent output from interference to trigger the random notes of the grid sequencer. So with each cycle we get different notes. This is sequencing basal. I'm sending it to a mixer. And this is just basal now, going through a filter, just a sine wave from Lindenberg Research, this filter, nice distortion filter. So this is just a sine wave, but I'm sending it also to interference, another interference, to the external clock input, and I'm using the rhythm generators to divide the frequency, and by I get sub-oscillators from the individual outputs. So this is the first one. And this is another division. Oh yeah. So we can use this to add sub-oscillators. I have also the high frequencies going through some delay. For another layer, let's unmute this. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Now this means also that we can use interference to generate or create chords. So here I have the even VCO from Befaco. I'm sequencing it with constant voltage, so I'm adding 5 semitones and 7 semitones. This is again going to the external input of interference, and I'm mixing a few divisions, so I get chords. I'm mixing them with the VCV mixer, again going through some delay, and I have the AD envelope controlling the amplitude of this chord. Let's have a listen to this. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes, so many uses for interference. Again, links in the description where you can find it, and that was it. Like always, there will be also a link to both patches. Feel free to download them and take a closer look. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button if you enjoy what I do. Consider becoming a Patreon if you want to see more videos like this. Please subscribe and hit the bell, and have a good one.